Hi, welcome Ravina. Welcome to the CTQ Smartcast.
Hi, Harish. Thank you so much for inviting me over.
So, Ravina, there are a lot of things to talk about when we looked at your profile and what you have done. Just to start with something which piqued curiosity. So, you completed your masters in technology from College of Engineering Pune in 2018. Actively worked at the Pune Advanced Toastmasters Club, serving at Tahaan, and also worked at TRDDC. And in 2021, you got selected for TAS, the Tata Administrative Services. So, how have you been able to efficiently juggle between so many projects in various fields and all at once, right? And also study for something like TAS.
Okay, so now when you put it across, it does sound like how did all of this happen? But if I just break it down into my regular schedule, I would get up in the morning, do my morning routine, like exercise or read the newspaper, go to work. I mean, this was before the lockdown days.
Right.
Come back from work at around 7:30. After that, I would have 2 hours of Tahan meetings or discussions with the team. We have a big team of around 100 people, and there's like a strong leadership over there. So that definitely helped. And after 9 o'clock, I would spend some time studying, reflecting, reading books. That's my hobby anyways. And Sundays and Saturdays used to be compulsory 100% for Tahan and Toastmasters. So no office work would come into Saturday, Sunday, or actually my friends would really be disappointed at me because I would be the one backing out from all the weekend plans because I had some project lined up. So yes, been a bit low on the social life, but apart from that, everything just fits into the schedule. I mean, you have like certain buckets for different activities and it gets done.
Right.
But yeah, preparing for tasks, it's not something that I consciously did over the last few years. It was just the last 2 3 months that I took some time out, like 3 4 hours every day for like 3 4 months, and that consistency just paved off. That's it.
Right, right. I'm sure it is easier, said than done. And our listeners would want to know some more details around how you manage to hack your timetable, hack your day schedule to get this done. But before that, a quick introduction about Tahan. What exactly do you do at Tahan, and how have you been involved with Tahan?
This all started in the year of 2016. We had a group of around 30 friends who were actively brainstorming about what are the problems that we are facing today. And in that year, there was unfortunately one of the worst droughts that Maharashtra faced in our generation. So that was the time when there was a train that was sent from Sangli to Latur to satisfy the water needs over there. And it was for the first time that in a city like Pune, which is usually supposed to be water sufficient, where my mother owned a hostel, a two-storied hostel which housed around 30 girls. But the water crunch was so severe that we couldn't satisfy the needs of our hostel, and our hostel also had to be shut down during the period of 4 5 months. That is when I closely saw that however advanced we get, whatever focus we rely on education, development, industrialization, at the end of the day, if there is no water, then all of your activities, the entire economy comes to a halt. The education of kids come to a halt because they have to go long distances to fetch water. So that is when like these friends, we came together and we started a project to provide water to drought affected villages. That was a very small act at that time because for us it felt like, yes, we're just answering the needs of the society. And looking back, the impact of that activity was quite huge. So we were able to raise around 7.5 8 lakh rupees in spite of being just a group of friends, almost all of them students or young working professionals. And we provided water to around 30 villages, around 550 water tankers. Apart from that, every weekend we would go over there, conduct street plays, awareness sessions, meetings with the gram panchayat, gram sabhas, talk to the villagers, understand the problems. At the end of the summer period, we even realized that a lot of these villages lack tree cover because of which the groundwater tables are not getting restored. So we even conducted a tree plantation drive of around 3,000 trees in that village. And after the monsoons arrived in 2016, we then started thinking that, this year's problem is solved. But what if this problem occurs again after 10 years?
Right.
It's not like at that time you're going to again come and start providing water tankers. What if there is no water for the water tankers to bring? So that is when we thought about setting up an NGO. and paying more attention to the long term implications of water shortage and seeing how can we adapt and mitigate to this problem. So now Tahan is a registered NGO with more than 100 members, and we operate in different areas of water conservation, such as restoring the groundwater tables, providing clean drinking water, providing access to water, making sure that you are optimizing the use of water, promoting a circular economy in water. So these are all activities that we do to make sure that the next time a drought occurs in India, we will be drought resistant. We'll be able to overcome it successfully.
Right. Yeah, I think that's a that's a fantastic job that you guys have done and are continuing to do. I'm sure that that period in 2016 would have been life changing for you and your friends, right? I mean, the way
Yes,
you think
yes,
about things in general.
yes, for all of us. Very true.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So, another question that we did do a bit of a digression where I asked you to introduce about Tahan, but going back to your timetable and schedule, right? So, is this something which you just had right from the beginning, where you had multiple interests, or as you grew, there was something new that came up which caught your attention, fancy, and you said, okay, let me pursue this as well. So it just gets added, creates another slot in your timetable. How does that work?
Yeah, they say, no, behind every successful man, there is a woman. So likewise, behind whatever crazy things I do, there is a successful woman, and that is my mom. Since I was a child, since I was like 3 4 years old, my mom had these lofty dreams planned for me. Anytime she would see a child prodigy or she would see some successful woman, she would want me to become that. Like when I was a kid, she wanted me to do public speaking in front of the audiences. She wanted me to become a TV anchor at CNBC. She wanted me to be a fantastic dancer. At the same time, she wanted me to become a CEO. She wanted me to become a politician. There are like so many dreams that she had. And as a child, I would love to see these dreams along with her. And that kind of made me a dreamer, that whenever a thought would come into my mind, it would always be a big lofty dream. And the power of dreams is such that it gives you immense energy and immense passion to work towards it. And then anything that you see around you that matches your plan of getting close to the dream, you immediately find time for it and immediately get excited about it. So that's how I got excited about Toastmasters, where I thought that it will drastically improve my public speaking leadership skills and open up my world to a diverse set of audiences. Being from a computer engineering background, and I'm sure a lot of computer engineers can relate to this, we live in this bubble of computer engineers, techs, geeks, nerds. And this bubble starts from the college days and ends like till forever. And this Toastmasters helped me to break out of this bubble. Similarly, volunteering at different NGOs like Bookwala organization or Tahaan also exposed me to the reality of the world, that your bubble is not just, again, your set of friends, but it's your community as well. And every single person owes something to the community, every single person. That also helps you keep grounded, and that helps you to use the skills of your professional life to uplift and empower those who are not privileged to have those skills. I think these thoughts or these dreams is what gives you immense energy to pursue any action that you want.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So, this was something which I remember happened with me as well, though I'm not a computer science engineer, but having worked in some, IT product and services companies, I could see that my world was, restricted to people very similar to me, right? So when I actually started, my previous, venture, that was an opportunity for me to meet so many people from different walks of life, and
Hmm.
that really changes the way you look at
Absolutely.
things.
Yeah, and just to add one small point to it, my mother is a doctor, a homeopath doctor, but at the same time, I mean, she doesn't practice full time anymore, but her range of hobbies is so vast. So she does a lot of gardening, she does painting, she is a full time trader. So she invests short term and long term both in the stock markets. At the same time, the hostel that I told about, it was a two-storied hostel. It was entirely built by my mom without the help of a contractor, just to
Right.
save on the cost and make sure that it is efficient. So watching her do all these things, For me it was very natural that, it's okay to pursue your hobby. You don't need to be an engineer to build a house. You don't need to be a finance professional or an MBA finance to invest in the stock markets. If you have the desire, you can do it.
Right, right. And one thing that you did not mention, and we also, missed that in the first question, was your interest in quizzing. We are also interested in quizzing, so we're not going to let you get away without answering a couple of quiz questions at least.
Oh my
So,
god. Oh my god, this is a surprise bomb, Harish. I was not prepared for this.
yeah, but these are in some way related to you, some way connected to you and what you've been doing, so it should not be very difficult for you. This one especially, now when you mentioned people having lofty goals, I think this question fits that bill very nicely. Should be, gettable. So who is this person born in Paris in 1904 and was the first person in India to get a pilot's license on Feb 10th, 1929?
He's the favorite guy of all the Tata employees. This is JRD Tata.
Of course, it is JRD Tata, who was the first commercial pilot license holder in India. We're going to come back to TAS, but before that, before we talk about the TAS chapter of your life, in a previous conversation that we had, you mentioned that you wanted to become a teacher, but
Hmm.
decided to change, change course, change direction. So, can you talk about it? How did that happen or not happen? What happened there?
Harish, since childhood, like since my kindergarten days, I have been a big fan of teachers because they transport you into a different world. They show you the possibilities that exist out of the four boundaries of the school. They stimulate your imagination and they stand as a role model for every child in their developmental years. As a result of that, there was this period in my second year, third year of engineering when I had lost my phone and I wanted a new BlackBerry at that time. I was a big fan of BlackBerry phones. So that is when my mom was like, "No, you've lost your phone. There is no way I'm going to get you a new one. That to an expensive phone like a BlackBerry. It was quite expensive in school days, sorry, college days." So I said that no problem. I will earn that money on my own and I will get myself a phone. So that's when, and I had cracked JEE in 12th standard, so I had a good PCM foundation. So I thought, let me pass on these foundations or this knowledge, because I had loved studying in 11th and 12th. So I started conducting tuition classes for kids in 12th standard, and it started as a small activity in the backyard, but within 2 years we had taught to more than 250 students in just like one small backyard. So that is when I realized that I love being on the stage talking about science to kids. I got really good feedback from them, and a lot of them are still my friends today. So when I thought that we need more teachers like this within colleges, so that students don't need to go outside and pay extra for tuition. So I thought that what if I become a professor and provide that filling gap or add to the amazing teachers out there. Then I started preparing for my masters to get a PhD, because it's mandatory to have a PhD as a
Right.
professor, right? And I even yeah, that's why I did my MTech from COAP. Then I applied to NTU, Singapore, which is amongst the top 15 best colleges for computer science. And luckily, I got a PhD offer from that university. In the year of 2018, I went to Singapore to join the college. But unfortunately, or fortunately, in the first week of our college itself, they had a health checkup. And in that health checkup, I was diagnosed with some lung infection. On further investigation, they found out that I had tuberculosis at that time. And um, so usually when a person has TB, there's like a high fever, huge weight loss, and weakness, coughing out blood. But I did not have any of those symptoms. So it came as a big shock for me. They started my medications instantly as soon as they figured it out. But within a few days, I got some side effects of those medicines. And as a result, I had to be admitted in the ICU. And I was in the ICU for almost a month in Singapore. And given the health laws in developed countries are quite strict, and they don't have high occurrences of TB, so they want to keep TB people out of their country. As a result, they denied my admission on medical grounds. So I had no option but to come back to India. And that was a big setback because I had been preparing for this PhD dream for around 4 or 5 years. So I had to come back to India, and then I had already worked in TRDDC with 2 internships. So they were kind enough to give me back a job, but that kind of put a temporary halt to my teaching dreams. Irrespective of that, I'm still very passionate about teaching, and I look forward to maybe take up some guest lectures or teach a course at a college in the years to come. Let's see how that pans out.
Right, right. But what struck me, Ravina, when you were talking about this was that though it was a setback, it was a setback to plans which were in the works for at least 4 to 5 years. It doesn't seem to have put you back, right? It was setback, but you took it on the chin and you sort of rewired yourself and found new path. I don't want to call it Brownian motion, but yeah, it is. You're figuring out your way through
No,
whatever
Harish,
there
you're
is.
right. My life has been a Brownian motion. So that's like, yeah, full points over there. Talking about such setbacks now, I mean, I remember when this whole thing happened and I was in the ICU for 1 month, my parents were extremely worried about me, thinking that this girl has put so much efforts into it. Like, I literally fought against them because they were like pushing me for marriage and all of that. So I literally fought against them, went over there, and now this had happened. They thought that I'll be like completely heartbroken.
Right.
And it is quite natural for parents to have such concern
Hmm.
about their children. But the positive thing was this was not the first time I'd had a setback in life. So in 11, 12, I had really put my heart and soul into JEE preparation, and I cracked the exam too, but I could not get a computer science seat. So that did not turn out. And at that time, I didn't really have a plan B about what should I do if I don't crack JEE. Similarly, in while preparing for GATE 2, I cracked GATE, but I could not get into IIT Bombay or IISc Bangalore. Apart from that, I was able to get into all the other IITs. But those are my dream colleges. So that was again a disappointment that, what is happening. But all of these incidents, if I look back into the history, they all opened up new paths for me, which if I look back and if I had to change things, I wouldn't have it any other way.
Right.
For example, just the Singapore experience taught me that health is so important. That literally, when people say health is wealth, jaan hai to jahan hai, that is actually true. Because one small setback in health can change your life upside down. And
Right.
that also helped me to retrospect and think that, Ravina, last few years of your life you haven't really given a lot of time to your health, and it's time now to take that seriously. So every time a setback occurs, you see whatever went wrong, you incorporate it, you become a stronger person. And at the same time, these experiences just keep reminding you that having one dream and one aim and one mission in life, all of this sounds good on paper, it sounds good in books and when motivational speakers speak about it, but life is not that straight. Life is a Brownian motion. You
Right.
have to make sure that you have lots of plan Bs, so
Correct.
that if that one plan fails, you're not lost.
Right, right, right. So, talk to me more about this scenario planning where you spoke about reflecting back on what has happened. But when you are at a juncture where you are looking at, different directions that your life career, can take, how do you think about the different scenarios? Do you actually sit down with an Excel sheet saying this is the probability of this scenario panning out? No, right? So, how do you do that more intuitively?
Well, you're talking about Excel sheets. Actually, there is always that Excel sheet in my mind going on,
Correct.
that let's first try for this. If this does not happen, let's try for this. If this does not happen, let's try for this. If this happens, then these are the next options that lie ahead. If this happens, these are the options that lie ahead. And at the end, all of these options that I'm continuously having in my mind come and converge at the same goal,
Right.
that is bringing some impact or some difference to the community. So because of that, any decision that I've made in life, I've always seen that, is this decision going ahead and impacting the community in some way or the other? Are we able to give back to the society? For example, this task thing that happened recently, that was not at all my plan A. In fact, that was like amongst one of the so many plans that I had.
Hmm.
I was working in TRDDC, and it was a brilliant place to have a good work-life balance. Do something good in tech at the same time, have good fitness culture in the organization helped me to remain fit, which was one of my goals after the PhD experience. So that was always like my backup plan. That kuch nahi to I'll spend my life in TRDDC. I'm happy doing that. Apart from that, I had plans that, let's see if I was preparing for civil services, because thinking that even though it's late, it's like some way to give back to the society. So that was on the cards. This task preparation was going on. um, a few years down the line, if none of these would have worked out, maybe I would have gotten a PhD while working, and maybe I would have shifted back to academics as well. At the same time, we were also thinking about setting up a family business with my mom and Masi. So I was helping them with the insights of how can we make a tech-enabled business. So likewise, and of course with Tahan also there were friends saying that let's have some more people join in the Tahan team, and such join in as in on a, professional
Right.
on a payroll level.
Hmm.
So while all of these activities sound as good plans, they were not ever plans that if one of them fails, then everything is lost.
Hmm. Hmm.
It's like different areas where you keep hitting, and
Right.
like a very agile fashion, whatever works, you keep taking that ahead.
Correct.
So
Hmm.
that's always been my approach.
Right, right. Yeah, yeah. So, I see a lot of resonance with what we call as future relevance and, trying to think of futures and not just, trying to forecast one specific future and, putting all the eggs in one basket, because that is not how life is today, right?
Hmm.
Things are going to change. There are going to be shocks, whether there is, there's a pandemic or something else.
Absolutely,
Uh,
absolutely.
right, so how do you prepare for that tomorrow? What can you do today to be relevant tomorrow? That's what we talk about, when we talk about future relevance. So I see a lot of resonance of, that kind of thinking in what you just spoke, Ravina. I wanted to, pick your brains on the whole idea of sustainability and climate change that is happening in the world right now in the realm of future relevance. So I wanted to, get your thoughts on that. Climate change is, probably happening so gradually, so slowly, that most people don't realize that it is happening. The
Hmm.
all the challenges that we see with rains today and extreme temperatures in other parts of the world, they are all, all a function of climate change. But somehow it is like, that is happening to someone else, right? It is not going to affect me individually, is the
Hmm.
notion that people seem to be having, right?
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
how should people be thinking about climate change and even sustainability with respect to their professional and personal future relevance, right? How should people be thinking about that?
Every person has, you can't really tell a person how to think, but there are some things that we can, just consider that these things may contribute to a big picture. To give you an example, let's say you're really passionate about the environment, and you want to contribute something to the environment, so you start a garden in your house, and you do have a very nice garden, right? You put your compost, kitchen compost into the
Right.
garden. You have plants, vegetables, fruits that are coming out of the garden, and you're uploading pictures about it on social media. Your friends are praising you for those efforts. At the end of the day, if you think that, how like, am I really contributing to mitigating the climate change? That it's happening at such a huge level, but as an individual, you're just having like a tiny garden. So how does, and then you may get discouraged that, I mean, people say that every step counts, but I don't see the other friends doing it. So how am I helping in these efforts? But now let's take a parallel case. Okay, you are taking these efforts, your friends are appreciating these, they are considering that if Harish can do it, so can I. If Harish is doing a garden, I don't have the time to do a garden in my house, but I can move to other sustainable decisions. Like I can use a cloth bag instead of a plastic bag. That's a simple change of habits, simple behavior change. Instead of purchasing plastic bottles, I can carry a water bottle from my house. Instead of going for fast fashion, I can invest more in something that is long, that is durable, and that is made of non-synthetic natural materials. Now, when a lot of people start thinking about the sustainability aspects in their regular decision making, that is when the real change starts. And that is how, so company that is a consumer oriented company, let's say, will now start thinking that the customers have now started adapting to a sustainability mindset. They are starting with sustainable behavior patterns. They are going for sustainable options. How can we provide such a value proposition to them? And this kind of a customer behavior then pushes the companies to think about embedding sustainability in their actions. So this can translate into a lot of things. For example, the packaging may become more sustainable. Like now we have a lot of brands that are coming up with recyclable packaging.
Right.
The company can introduce more sustainable products in their portfolio instead of the ones with a lot of chemicals and preservatives. The company can embed sustainability in their supply chain by having electric cars and demonstrating that their carbon footprint per product is very less. They can have rainwater harvesting and use water efficiently in their agricultural practices to show that their water footprint of the products is very less. So you may think that what is one person or what is one community having an impact, but this impact, instead of saying trickles down, it just rises exponentially across all the branches of the value chain of businesses. And when the customers drive the demand, the businesses adapt to these change, that is when we actually see a big impact happening across the world. So wherever an individual is thinking about sustainability in any action that they're performing, even for a computer engineer, in fact, if you're writing a code at that time, if you optimize it in such a way that it reduces less energy, it consumes less power, it runs for a lesser amount of time, you are directly contributing to efforts in mitigating the supply chain. Like when I was running machine learning algorithms at that time, these algorithms take a long time to run, sometimes a day, sometimes 3 4 days. So at that time, if you think about making all your changes in just one run instead of keeping on experimenting with the code, that can help save a lot of energy. So such this change in behavioral mindset is what we really need in every single person in any way that they want.
Right, right. Yeah. So I guess what you're saying is if people in their personal lives start to think about sustainability, it is only natural that they bring the same philosophy in their business decisions where they can make a much bigger impact, right?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, yeah. So, can you also talk a bit about what you are doing at TAS? You told me last time that you're working on some sustainability projects at TAS as well. So, can you talk about what you're planning to do there?
Right now, I'm posted in Tata Consumer Products, which is the company that makes your Tata tea, coffee, Himalayan water. They have the Tata Sampann brand of pulses and masalas. And the company has recently thought about revamping its sustainability policy after the recent change of organization when Tata Global Beverages became Tata Consumers, and they also had Tata Salt joining them in. With this new change, they are thinking about driving a huge rollout of a sustainability policy in all of their actions. They want to embed sustainability in their entire value chain. And I am lucky to be a part of this exciting process. Together with the global sustainability head of Tata Consumer Products, we are developing a new sustainability strategy for the company that will foresee climate change, water management, waste management, empowerment of communities, and embed these in all their actions.
Right, right. And how does this affect individuals with respect to their career choices or how they're thinking about their professional future, right? So are there cases where people should be thinking about the kind of jobs that they take up or the kind of employers that they work with, and in case there is something that happens in future where a company just goes out of business because they have probably not conform to some regulations. So all the people working for that company are going to go out of job. So is that something which is actually a possibility, or is this something just in the realms of theoretical guesswork?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. We are living in these days today where you do or you die. You adapt to the trends or you do not exist at all. So I'll give 2, 3 examples over here. Firstly, in a lot of companies, till a few years back, there used to be just one, CSR head or
Right.
sustainability head who was expected to do all the green work.
Correct.
That plant some
Tree
trees,
plantation,
yeah,
yes.
give some money to different NGOs, make
Right.
sure that we are looking good on the books,
Hmm.
and that was it.
Hmm.
But to give you an example, in Tata Consumers now, the company is wants to embed sustainability in every single action. Now, tomorrow, if they want to hire a new person to look after the supply chain, okay, and they have two options. There's one person who's like excellent at supply chain, being great at academics, and has a demonstrated history of good efficient supply chain management. And then there is another person with the same skills, but who has developed an interest in embedding sustainability in supply chain practices, who can package things in a way that are environmentally friendly, who can optimize operations in a way that they reduce the carbon footprint. It is but natural that the company is going to hire the second person, because today sustainability environment is not the job of only one person.
Hmm.
It's the job of every single person in the organization. And this is something that all the students or people who are looking to make any advancements in their career must keep in mind, that you need to have an outlook towards sustainability in whatever you do. I had a very good friend. I mean, I still have that friend. He was working in a power company. They would set up coal-fired power plants in developing countries like Philippines, and he would go there and stay there for 2, 3 years, help build the power plant, and then come back, work on a new project. Now, with the changing regulations and with the changing consumer demands, the pressure that society is putting on them, we are not having new coal plants getting erected. The world is moving towards renewable energy.
Right.
As a result, if he continues to work in the same field, that job is not going to exist. His expertise is going to be of no use going down the line. So just this year, he's now going for a master's in renewable energy,
Hmm.
so that he can be job ready for the new market that comes up. Every single person now, even if we are talking about designers, let's say artists are also under a lot of pressure to make sure that the sustainable actions of a company or the organization that they're working for are demonstrated effectively.
Hmm.
Managers also have to make sure that their team is also thinking about sustainability and coming up with ideas that can contribute to the organization. A lot of small businesses are coming up in the sustainability space. Examples are a lot of tea coffee brands who make sure that the profit margins are less, and they make sure that these profits are translated back to the community. Their packaging is green. They are having local produce from local organic gardens being supplied to the customers. So these are all new career opportunities that are coming up. You take it either way, that either you upskill to meet career opportunities, or you take this white space and start a new business proposition over there. Be ready that careers will definitely have a big change with sustainability.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So before we move to the next section, Ravin, I'm going to ask you one more question, because the next question that I had in mind actually segues from this quiz question that I want to ask you.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
So in 2015, Rajendra Singh, also known as the Waterman of India, was awarded the Dash Water Prize, which is considered as the Nobel Prize for water. So just fill in the blanks. Which city in the world are we talking about?
Yeah, yeah, it's a Stockholm Water Prize.
It is the Stockholm Water Prize,
I'm
yes,
so, I'm
and
so relieved, Harish, that you're asking me questions that I know.
and there's some Sweden connection also with you, right? You won some Sweden quiz or something like that,
Yeah, there used to be this Sweden India Nobel Memorial Quiz contest that used to happen in colleges, and I
right?
participated in it in my BTech as well as MTech days. We had a dream to win the award and go to Sweden and look at the beautiful country over there, but that never happened. I think our team must have been the team who has gone to the national round the maximum number of times. We have been there like 4 or 5 times, so much that the quiz master over there is friends with me. So
Nice, nice. I just hope and wish that you probably go there to accept your, the water prize someday.
हरीश तुम्हारे मुंह में घी शक्कर.
Yeah. So, Ravina, the question that I had, which was to segue from this was, the developed countries have started talking a lot about sustainability, at least in the mainstream media. Now they're talking about it. It's, it's very fashionable. And, in many cases, it is also true that, a lot of what has happened, the reason why we are here is because of what the developed countries did. And, now you should not stop the developing countries to come to the same level, using the same means that they did. But then, they are like, there's this divide, right? The developed countries will say, we didn't know that things were bad then, which is why we did them, but now why should you be doing it? But that is also denying an opportunity to the developing countries to get to that level in terms of whatever GDP growth and, all of that, right? So, can you just talk about how companies in India should be looking at this, at the whole sustainability part? Is it a valid business strategy, which is also going to lead to economic growth, right? What are your thoughts on that?
There was this research done by a Professor Damodaran. I think he's a professor at Harvard School of Business or Stanford. I don't really remember.
Ashwath
Yes,
Dam.
Ashwath Damodaran.
Right,
Yes. And he had a research paper that spoke about if you embed sustainability or if the company takes up a sustainable strategy, will it necessarily translate to economic gains?
right.
Because when a lot of these organizations are putting sustainability as an agenda, they are also kind of sugarcoating it and saying that if you include sustainability, it will lead to a profit for your companies. And in that research paper, he proved it that that is not true. I mean, there's no direct correlation that if you have sustainability, you'll have an increase in profits. And the reason why he said that was, if profits is the reason why you're including sustainability in your actions, then it's not going to translate into a direct benefit.
Hmm.
A company should not think that we should have sustainability to drive profits. A
Right.
company should think that we should have sustainability because that is the right thing to do.
Hmm.
That is what the world needs.
Hmm.
Tomorrow, the kids or the grandchildren of these CEOs are the ones who are going to experience climate change the most. They're going to be the ones who are going to be the most affected by whatever is happening. And they need to, if they don't want to think about the entire community, they need to think about their own grandchildren. Is this the kind of world we are presenting to them?
Right.
Now, the next challenge that lies ahead is, you can't include sustainability and become loss making and say that, I'm doing good to the society, so I'm going to stop, getting profits for this company.
Correct.
That doesn't work, right? Because at the end of the day, you also have to feed your family. So now the important challenge that lies in front of businessmen, industrialists, is how can they include sustainability and remain profitable at the same time? If not increase profits, that is still fine, but it is important to remain profitable. And a lot of companies are demonstrating that. For example, Walmart has a policy that it only keeps sustainable beverages in its retail stores. And Walmart is thriving. So it's one small action, but it's not affecting the profits of the company directly. Instead, it's rather putting pressures on the sourcers to make sure that they are procuring their products in a sustainable manner.
Right.
Similarly, companies need to take some bold decisions. And these decisions have to be supplemented, supported by sound strategies, by sound business propositions that make sure that some way they they look at efficiencies and innovations and disruptions to balance out any kind of losses that they may face due to sustainability.
Right, right. So, I mean, in my mind, it is similar to regulations, right? A lot of regulatory requirements require you to spend a lot of money, that is eating away into your profit, but you have to do it because that's a regulation. So, I think as more and more governments actually start making these, and not just, not just for optics sake, right? But actually making the right kind of policies, I think companies will start, adapting to these kind
Yes,
of things.
yes, yes. And to this, I also want to add that any behavior pattern has a normal distribution, right?
Hmm.
Like there are good people in this world, and there are equally people with evil intentions.
Hmm.
Similarly, when we're talking about sustainability too, there are people who want to do, who genuinely want to embed sustainability in their actions, like the Tata Group. It has been doing that even before there were any kind of
Right.
regulations in place. The Tata Group will continue to do it irrespective of the regulations. But
Correct.
at the same time, there would be some other groups who who will not wait for regulate like who even if the regulations come in, they'll wait till the last day. They'll
Right.
go to the court. They'll be like,
Hmm.
what will happen? Worst case, they'll
Hmm.
keep releasing effluents in the water. So we need regulations for the second half of the people.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
again, half of the people are already wanting to do sustainability. So these actions are supported by a push from the consumers, behavioral trends, a push from the shareholders of the company, a push from the employees of the company, and it all the onus lies on the leader of the company to hear these needs, and in spite of there being no regulatory framework, process these needs into a good product or a good value proposition for the company.
Right, right. And do you see, or rather, when do you foresee, things like sustainability and climate change being part of the political narrative in India?
um, I cannot really comment on the politics of our country because they are so dynamic and unpredictable. But definitely, as I said again, if there's a push from the consumers, if there's a push from the population, if the politicians are seeing that the population is making healthier and sustainable choices in their ways of life, if the industrialists are also narrate having a lot of sustainability narratives, the government will again be forced to drive the push, because at the end of the day, the government is just a reflection of the society.
Right.
So it all depends on when we start making the change. That is when the government will start.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah.
there is I mean, considering whatever has happened over the last few decades, we are seeing a positive shift in the government's mentality towards
Hmm. Hmm.
sustainability. Like even against the climate action plan,
Hmm.
we are doing well. As you said, developing countries may feel that why should we stop or we change our operations just
Hmm. Hmm.
because the world is facing a calamity. US has to do more, Europe has to do more about it. Although we as a country are still having that stand, it's not a very rigid stand.
Right.
It's something like, don't put restrictions on us, we'll do our best, and we
Hmm.
really are doing our best.
Right.
So we need to, yeah, be supportive of these decisions as well.
Right, right. Yeah, so the big message that I'm taking out from this, Ravina, is that, usually climate change sustainability is seen at a very macro level, right? There is a very important role to play for the individual with, our own choices and decisions. And it is going to have a big impact on our, an individual's career path and, professional future relevance also. So not
Hmm.
to, set that aside as something that only the governments need to worry about, right?
Yeah, and yeah, even if you look at it from a company perspective, let's say I'm a company that releases a lot of effluents in the water. Okay. And tomorrow I want to hire some people from the best institutes of India. At that time, if there is any news out in the market that my company is releasing a lot of effluents, it's causing harm to the environment around it, will students want to be a part of such a company?
Right.
Like, will they, because if someone joins this company also, that person will have a severe backlash from the people around him as
Correct.
well. So that also makes a company think that what kind of a company they want to be seen as in the future to attract the best minds.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. On that note, we'll move to the last section, Ravina. So, what have been the big influences on your life? You mentioned about your mother, but any other people, books, podcasts, TV shows, whatever.
Oh God, that's like a big question. I'll take these one by one. Okay.
Okay.
So, talking about books, I'll start with books because books have been my best friends since childhood. And interestingly, I learned how to make friends by reading books.
Nice.
So one of the biggest influencers has been Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People, which I read in 11th standard. And if you see, if there was like a chart of number of friends Ravina had before 11th and after 11th, you see like a big spike over there. So that book has played a big role in my life. Also, I had read Alchemist when I was in 7th standard, and that was at that time I was going through a rough phase, but somehow the book opened up my mind to looking at life differently and not taking life so seriously, keeping in mind that there's a big picture ahead and small events don't really shape you up entirely. At the same time, 2 3 years back I read this book called Feeling Good by Dr. David Burns. He's in fact an MD in psychology, no, sorry, MD in psychiatry. So he's a medical doctor, but he's written a book on psychology. It is a very interesting, read. So that book talks about the common thinking patterns that we are exposed to, and what are the flaws in our thinking patterns. He calls it as dysfunctional behavioral traits. So that book has helped me to rewire my mind from the inside. And also this lockdown opened up my doors to, at the start there was like this whole wave of Mahabharata and Ramayana memes and people watching it on TV shows. So that's something, that trend, I got hooked onto that. And I'm reading the Bhagavad Gita these days. There is an amazing podcast on Mahabharat by it's HT, I think. And that podcast is one of the best podcasts I've heard in my life. It has a very interesting take on Mahabharat with really good sound effects, really good narration. It literally takes you, centuries back into what must have happened at that time, and has a very nice, sweet narrative. So if anybody has even the slightest interest in Mahabharat, I would highly recommend that podcast. Talking about people who have had a very strong influence in my life, I would say Sheryl Sandberg, number one. I heard about her at a book club meeting that Manish Kulkarni hosts in Pune, the BDB book club, and used to host. Now this lockdown has stopped all such nice meetings that would happen. um, Sheryl Sandberg has came in my life when I was thinking that "Acha, now is the time for me to get married and think about career options that will help me balance a married life." And it's a restrictive state of mind to be in. So that book opened up that those blocks and made me confident that don't think so much about pursuing career choices. Just do what you love. Everything else will fall into place. And along with that, a person who's had the biggest influence in my life, you'll find this really funny, but it's been my boss at TRDDC. His name is Dr. Sachin Pawar. He's a PhD in computer science, and he is really smart in natural language processing. The best part about him as a boss, and that's something that I would want to become, whenever I become a boss in a corporate setting, is extremely knowledgeable, so much that whenever you go to him with any problem, he'll have a solution for it, or he'll open up, like, check this out, or do this, and you will find a solution to your problems. I think that's the best quality of a boss, that a boss should know the answers to all your questions or point you in the right direction. And at the same time, a person with really high work ethics. Not seen a person with such high work ethics. I can talk about him for like an hour or so, but coming to office, on time, wearing formals every day. I don't know how people do that, but being extremely disciplined in following deadlines, meeting up plans, and at the same time, if something goes amiss, which usually happens in research, then figuring out what to do next, being very patient about it, protecting your team in front of the super boss. So such kind of traits are rarely found in just one person. So he's taught me a lot about work ethics, and that's something I hope to carry forward in the future. And there are, again, when I was reading about preparing for this Nobel Sweden India Nobel Memorial Quiz, I
Hmm.
read about the lives of a lot of Nobel laureates, and selecting one amongst them would be really unfair.
Right.
But these reading about all these Nobel laureates have also brought about a huge change in my life. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a great list. I haven't met Dr. Pawar. I hope I have an opportunity to interact with him and probably do a smartcast with him. Given the glowing recommendation that you have given
And
for
he's a
him.
very introvert person. So if you like look at him, you won't even think. And that's one thing again. You don't always have to be out in the limelight to be an
Right.
inspiration for someone.
Correct, correct. Yeah, yeah. Very, very true, very true. So, last question, Ravina. So, how do you connect the dots on all the things that you have done over the years and, with your foreseeable future at TAS? How is everything contributing, to what you are and where you're going to be?
Yes, when I started out, I did not have a plan that I'll do these things and then connect them to do this one thing.
Right.
But now that we are sitting over here, I can, be try to give a justification of how all my skills will help me. The kind of stuff that you say to a new, to your interviewer when you're applying for a new job. But some since childhood, since I was in first standard, I had a big passion for computers and tech, and I would see them as devices that increase your efficiency and productivity. This also translated into my love for machine learning, which also ends up doing the same. So I see tech playing a big role in whatever decisions I take. How can we automate, digitize, put things into processes and use tech to make our lives easier? It's something that will shape up my life. The sustainability perspective that was brought about by the 2016 drought had a big influence on me, and started from water but has expanded to all fields of sustainability, not just environmental sustainability, but even sustainability of livelihoods, education, human rights. And I hope that I make every decision in my life considering all these aspects of sustainability, and also work towards making our country, starting from the Tata group, net zero by the time I'm at the end of my life. If I'm able to do anything in that direction, I will say I have given something back to the descendants of today's generation. So while these are like technical skills that will help me, some values that I have incorporated that will shape me up going ahead is one of having a strong focus on fitness and health. Your mental health as well as physical health, both are extremely important, not just for you as an individual but even for your team. So whichever team I'm a part of, I always ask them, so what are you doing, what are you exercising these days? Are you going for walks, are you eating well? So this is also a push that will be there from my side. And building a nice loving community, a healthy culture, a culture that pushes you to achieve your dreams, a culture that helps you overcome roadblocks, whether in your personal life or professional life, is something I've lucky to be have been a part of throughout my years at MIT, COAP, Bookwala, Tahan, TRDDC, even at TAS. Having this amazing, set of people around you who are like full of positivity and who also have the same amount of excitement for your dreams has gotten me to where I am today. So this is also a culture that I would love to provide to all the people around me in the future. So I think connecting the dots, tech, sustainability, fitness, and a loving community are things that have gotten me to where I am, coupled with a sense of passion and drive to achieve my dreams. And these are values and skills that I continue to take ahead.
All right. On that note, Ravina, I think this was a fantastic 1 hour of conversation that we had. A lot of things for me to pick up and talk about with my children as well, right? About what they should be thinking of, and I see a lot of resonance with what we call as future relevance in terms of how you've been thinking about your life, your career. We usually end the CTQ Smartcast with a couple of questions on future relevance of certain topics. But I think you've covered most of it, around the future relevance of circular thinking and climate change. But I'm going to ask you one last question. What do you think is the future relevance of books?
Wow. So just yesterday I was thinking about this. So thank God I thought about it yesterday. I used to be a big fan of books, and I have like more than 1,000 books in my house. Not read all of them, but I do. And there has been a shift in my reading patterns. From reading books, I have started like physical paper books. I've started reading things on a Kindle now. So
Right.
that's been one change of pattern. I also have started listening to a lot of podcasts. If there are some books that I feel that I really want to know the gist of it, but I don't want to give too much time to it, then book summaries I have started resorting to, which earlier I used to not, because I used to feel that, hey, this provides a compressed version,
Mm-hmm.
lossy compression also happens. A shift to mini books has also been happening. And even from the publisher's end. So earlier, if someone wrote a big book with around, say, 30, 40 chapters, and you were advised to read just like 2, 3 chapters of that book, um, need to purchase the entire book to read
Right.
just those 2, 3 chapters. But now, just yesterday, I read one chapter of Harish Bhatt's book on
It's
the
a story
Penguin
of truth.
portal.
Hmm.
Just take that one chapter. It was available for around 20 rupees, a digital
Hmm.
read of that chapter.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
I feel that is fantastic. And that's what consumers want sometimes. They just want to read
Right.
a part of that book. So, such kind of innovations are also coming up in books. Unfortunately, a lot of my friends these days are not reading books because they are consumed in the Instagram world of reels. But I hope an interactive version of these books that give more reels feels, or have like an audio video effect to it, like Audible or what Amazon Echo also provides, Amazon Alexa also provides. So
Right.
these would be some really interesting trends to come up with, because at the end of the day, these short reels or short articles may give you good gratification for that particular minute, but to really understand a subject and to develop a perspective around it, you do need to read books. So this need is going to remain forever, I feel.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. On that note, we did cover some of what you spoke about in an earlier CTQ Smartcast with Niranjan Pednekar, where he spoke about the AR VR around books and all the work that he has been doing. So I'm going to
Hmm.
link to that episode also in the show notes, again from the world of TRDDC. So thanks a lot, Ravina. This was fantastic. Lots for me to chew on, lots for me to pick up, and I wish you all the best in all the possible futures that you have.
Uh, Thank you, Harish. At the same time, I would really like to drop a special note of appreciation for Choose to Think. I've been involved with the activities of Choose to Think, not very closely, but I've had intersections like attending Ramanand's quiz at IIT Bombay, or attending your quizzes at BDB book club sessions, listening about it from the people who work for you, and looking at your social media posts also. And this is something that I am, this is one of the most privileged interviews I've been a part of. I would say that the kind of perspectives that you folks bring to the table, it's something very unique and fresh. And the world needs this perspective right now, because you cannot think in the traditional patterns the way you've been thinking so far. There is a lot of disruption happening, not just in the space of AI, tech, and business, but even in the space of thinking. And I feel that the contribution of your organization to this field is immense. So thanks so much.
Thanks a lot, Ravina, for those kind words. Thank you.